It's Lee Tarrier from PW Mania with the legendary Luke Gallows. Luke, how are you doing?
I like that intro. I'm doing great, brother. How you doing?
Well, I'm all the better for seeing you. I mean, I have followed your work across a number of years, across a number of different companies. You've been all over the map from WWE across to Japan, AEW, TNA, Maple Leaf Pro Wrestling. How, what's going on lately? I know you've been involved in Maple Leaf, but how are you finding your career at the moment?
Man, it's such a breath of fresh air right now, this point in our careers. The biggest thing, we're super busy. But the coolest thing we have going on right now is Machine Gun Carl Anderson, my tag team partner, my business partner, my best buddy, and I. I've had Lariato Pro Wrestling here in Georgia for years, and uh, when we left WWE, we decided to take the next step. So Carl is helping me promote that now, and we just got a deal with Triller TV. So we're on Triller
Oh.
Plus every other Saturday. It's a reality-based wrestling show. It takes you behind the scenes, shows you how we create the show, along with the matches, promos, etc. And we also have a Thursday night lead in with our Talking Shop podcast. That's in front of the paywall. And then we also signed a Roku deal. So it's on a Roku channel STGN 49. Any smart TV, Apple TV, you can download that. And that's also bi weekly. So we, aside from wrestling all the time, are up to our eyes in that. It's a lot of work, but it's a really fun, cool, challenging thing to do. So yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean that sounds incredible. And look, I mean we're in a time of the of sort of the wrestling timeline where fans are a lot more smart about what happens and
Yep.
and what happens obviously not just in the ring but behind the scenes.
Yeah.
How important was that for you to sort of embrace with what you're doing now?
Well, when I came up, it was a different kind of a time period. I'm 23 years in. I've been doing it since I was 18 years old. And it was still, even though things were opened and they opened up in the later 90s, and we all read Mick Foley's book and we all
Yeah.
watched, The Secrets of a Pro Wrestler and we saw the guy with the blade the first time and all those things came out. But it was still kind of taboo, like in the early 2000s, to talk about kayfabe and talk about what went on behind the curtain. But as time evolved, and it's funny because a lot of those guys, as they retired and moved out of the phase of their in ring career, the people who were so staunchly against talking openly, they made a new career out of talking openly.
Yeah.
So it was
Yeah.
kind of like the floodgates opened up. So why not? Everybody else is showing it, and it's a unique thing for us because we are a grassroots promotion. We're self-funded. We're just down here grinding in the southeast, and I've been lucky enough over the years through my different stints, different places. I've promoted wrestling all over the southeast. I've promoted shows in Africa, promoted shows in South America, so it's been cool doing that. But now producing television is a lot different, and it's pretty raw right now. And every week we learn something new. We just aired week 2, so it's literally brand new. And every week we have flaws, and we take the criticism, we take our licks, and we keep on moving. That's all you can do.
Of course. And I guess then, you've been everywhere. You've been at major companies at the major moments, been involved in the biggest moments. How do you then look to where you are now, and what is your ambition for the great stuff you're doing right now?
Well, I mean, I think the ambition is just to see how far you can take what we're doing now. But the other thing too is like, Carl and I still wrestle a full-time schedule. We want to wrestle a full-time schedule. We are so busy. Like, this Saturday we're in Milwaukee, Wisconsin for Brew City Wrestling. We have a big surprise event to round out the weekend we can't talk about. And then
Ah,
next week we are in Buffalo, New York for Fourth Rope. It's West Side Gun Day. Those guys are great. The rappers, West Side Gun, Smoke Dizza, Prime, all those guys. We have a triple threat match with the Hardys and the Infantry from AEW
wow.
there. And then the next day, Friday, we fly down to Puerto Rico for WWC Anniversario. And we love working in Puerto Rico. That place is a time capsule. You want to talk about not looking behind the curtain? The heat down there is real. There's no signing autographs after the match. If you're the bad guy, they're ready to kill you. So it's really fun to do that. And then, yeah. And I mean, the next week, somebody just asked me, they said, it looks like you're double booked in Tennessee. And I said, no, I'm in Tennessee Thursday. Then Friday, I'm in Canada. Then Saturday, I'm in New York City. Then Sunday, I'm back in Tennessee. So that's a real loop. You know what I mean? So we
Wow.
stay, we
Yeah.
stay on the horse and then we're producing the shows. And, my wife and I have a chiropractic clinic we just opened. She's a doctor and we do real estate. So it's just going all the time, man.
Oh, 100%. I mean, and kudos to you to do all this. It just definitely shows that, you're spreading your wings and you're doing it really, really well. And I guess it's come at a time where the last 5 years for yourself, especially, have been you and Anderson have been really, really big. You was involved in one of the biggest moments in the COVID era, let's say,
Yeah.
in the match between AJ Styles and the Undertaker. How did you find that, that whole process and doing something
That,
that was
that
extremely different?
yeah, that was a complete whirlwind because you look at that and we end up coming back there and re-signing in 19, and then the OC's back together now. And we go into that WrestleMania. We do the Undertaker's last match. I get thrown to my death. Carl takes the last tombstone ever. And then we are unceremoniously fired 11 days later.
Oh,
So that one we just came out swinging completely, and that really led to where we're at now because I've always believed that it's great to have the machine and it's great to be with the big company, but you can do it on your own, and that made us motivated to produce Talking Shop Mania 1 and Talking Shop Mania 2, which did great buys on Fight TV, which is now Triller TV, which led up to what we're doing now. And it was like, if you want to kick us out of the sandbox, we'll build our own sandbox. So we had the Boneyard match with The Undertaker, and then in my backyard, we filmed the Boner Yard match. And for that sector of the audience who likes a little comedy mixed in their pro wrestling, they really loved it. And at the time, Scott Demore, who's in charge of Maple Leaf Pro, was in charge of Impact, and it was during that odd COVID era. But he treated us great. We had great deals there. We won the tag titles 3 times, and then he offered us new deals with raises at the end of that, and that was right when Triple H called in 22. We've been working for New Japan Pro Wrestling as well, and we ended up going back to WWE for better or for worse. First few months were good, and then you could feel the vibe had changed and you could feel the winds of change were blowing, and sometimes you're just not favored. My partner took a little heat on our own podcast this week because he said that sometimes if you're not in favor, it doesn't matter what you do, talking about the carrying cross situation. But
mm.
that came off of us. So I mean, people, you take it negatively or not, but we've been on the inside, we see what it is, and hey, that's okay. There's no bitterness, there's no hard feelings. You just keep on trucking, man. That's what you do. So
Well, yeah, and I guess that's the thing because that point in 2019, 2020 was Vince, and the company was
yeah.
getting a lot of criticism for what the product was at that point, the creative,
Mhm.
I should say. And then
Yeah.
obviously the time you come back with Triple H, things are storming, the crowd are getting back on it because they're seeing a sense in the difference. Did you sense a difference in those two eras, and what was the kind of difference in that?
Yeah, when we came back in October of 22, it felt great. It felt fresh. It felt new. And then, a few short months later, we're in New York and we're getting ready to leave the building, and a limousine pulls up and we see a mustachioed man pop out, and it was Vince McMahon coming back for the first time. We happened to see him in the parking garage. And I don't know what goes on behind closed doors there, but from that point on, everything certainly got weird. Whether it was the Vince thing and then the eventual sale to TKO and however that timeline worked. But you could feel again the winds of change.
Yeah.
So the last year or so of that contract, we were hey, you're there, you're getting paid, you're doing your thing, but it was kind of like golden handcuffs for us because we love to be doing something, we love to be active, we love to be entertainers, and we number one love to be professional wrestlers. So you're just kind of spinning your wheels when you're just kind of on the sidelines, and we weren't 100% used to that. So it was what it was. Again,
Yeah.
no hard feelings, but it is what it is.
Did he start to come regularly again? Because there was that talk about he's sort of running it again. Did you see him
No,
regular? No.
we didn't see him regularly.
Mm.
You felt a different vibe. You felt a different tension when you walked in the arena in the afternoon. You could
Oh,
just feel it. And that's working anywhere. That's
yeah.
anywhere where there's a hierarchy or a boss or a system or whatever. You can tell. It's like, when they get a new principal at school and he's the one that doesn't fucking like you. So, who knows?
It's true. But then I guess in between that, you're involved in TNA, as you say, Tag Team Champions 3 times,
Mhm.
but also AEW in what
Yep.
I would say arguably one of the best pay-per-views that we've seen in modern times, all out, and you're involved in the ring in that amazing moment where Bryan Danielson comes out,
Mhm.
Adam Cole comes out. What was your experience with AEW, the workers there, Tony Khan? Was that some fun as you were kind of lapsing that over with TNA?
Yeah, it was a working relationship with TNA. Scott got to use Kenny Omega. Uh, but we remain to this day. Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks are great friends of the Good Brothers, and the Young Bucks we talk to literally every day in a group text, and it's not even about wrestling. It's about kids, family. This happened. This was funny. So they're some of our best friends in the business. So whenever we get an opportunity to work with them or do things with them over there, it's always been fun. And that was a fun time too in AEW. It was weird because it was the COVID era, and then
Hmm.
coming out of the COVID era, and we had that stint there during that time period, and it was a lot of fun. So there were some cool moments. I love the entrance we did, the basketball entrance,
Oh, brilliant,
with the
brilliant.
promo before where Matt Buck hits the shot, and it's people will go, how many times do they do that? But he literally goes, watch this, and they happen to be shooting that one cut. It was a one take. It was unreal. That stuff you can't duplicate that. I mean, don't have enough good to say about the Young Bucks, Kenny, and those guys. So their critics are wrong.
No, that's it. And what about Tony Khan? Did you have a lot of working with him while you was doing the work there?
We didn't have like a close relationship per se with Tony Khan, but he was always polite with us and always fine. And yeah, no problem there. He was cool, definitely.
Oh,
And you have to look at what Tony Khan, the Bucks, Kenny, Hangman, all those guys coming in there did for professional wrestling fans and professional wrestlers in general. It made everything better all the way around. It gave another place for people to go and work. It made the money go up, and it gave the fans a beautiful alternative. And it doesn't matter if you this tribalistic. I like WWE. I like AEW. I don't like this. I don't like this. I like TNA. Like it's all pro wrestling. If you don't like one of them, don't watch it.
it's exactly that. And I
So
guess then, with what you're doing now, we've obviously, I think that there is a real appetite for that. As we've seen, we've got this new series on Netflix, WWE Unreal. As someone
right.
who's lived in that world, how scripted do you see something like that, or real do you think it is?
I think it's 100% scripted, but all of reality television is scripted, so that's not a knock on them. If you're not scripting it, then what are you doing? I mean, I'm forever the skeptic on stuff like that anyway. Like I don't watch NASCAR, but NASCAR comes to Atlanta. It's a huge event.
Yeah.
And the first thing my pro wrestling brain does is go, if they're not scripting this, what are they doing? Just slow down and let the guy pass you. You know what I mean? You can create whatever narrative you want, so create it. It's any reality show, right?
Yeah, because that's the thing that a lot of people are saying. It feels like there's a lot there that's been orchestrated to make it seem like you're really in with the business. And yeah,
Yeah.
us as fans and people that do generally, we're seeing that sort of guerrilla position as it is in that and the kind of small documentaries you see with WWE
Yeah.
over the time. You're always wondering, is that really how it is? Like, what's the interaction when Triple H is sitting there? Is there, or Vince in the past? Was there an
Yeah.
interaction? How much goes on? So yeah, just really, really sort of
I think
intrigued by it all.
the gorilla position. I saw an episode of that. My son turned it on. The gorilla position thing. That's all legit. They're all sitting right there. I mean, for years it was Vince when you would go through the curtain, and then when you would come back, and then of course Triple H and his team now. So I mean, all that is completely legit. I just the narratives being spun. I don't know are completely legit. And this person's mad at this person, and you need to apologize, and this and that and the other, but it makes for great television. And what does it do? The name of this game, even when you pull the curtain back, is to suspend our disbelief as fans. So if you can take me for a minute and go, man, I think Tiffany and Charlotte do hate each other. Well, that's beautiful. That's what you're supposed to do. So whether you're doing it in a reality show form or in a promo in the ring or however you can do it using social media or bending the internet, I mean, obviously that's the goal there, and it makes for good television for them. So it does make sense.
Of course. And I guess then with what you're doing now, do you look at that and is that the mindset as well, or how do you want to show yours in a bit
I
of a
mean,
different
ours
way?
ours is, and I hope that people will take a look, like it or hate it. But ours is more like the first episode. There's a kid named Chase Emery down here that his name hasn't been heard a lot yet, but it will. I think he's got a huge upside, huge potential. But he's a collegiate Division 1 wrestler. He was a state champion in high school. He's in his young 20s, not all the way comfortable. talking in front of a camera, cutting a promo. And a lot of that first episode is us coaching him on the promo, and then he delivers the promo, and you see it improve and it's better. So we don't necessarily have a lot of those interwoven storylines in our reality-based thing. Ours is kind of a look behind the curtain of how do you do this at a grassroots level? Like, how do you get the lights up? How do you get the guys to town? How do you put these matches together? How do you pull this show off? How do you fill the building? And then what do you do next week? It's a pretty honest little kind of biopic of our life right now, which I think is cool. And hopefully it continues to grow from here, and who knows what it turns into or where it goes. So.
Yeah, I think that's what's great about it. Seeing that sort of development of superstars and wrestlers
Yeah.
that really go on the journey to become the people that are going to be
Right.
worldwide stars is a beautiful thing. So I know I can't wait to tune into it. And I guess then, your own journey. I mean, you've done some great stuff early on in the WWE. How do you look back on that as Festus and then with CM Punk? At that
Yeah.
time, there was some great stuff there, and you must look back on it fondly.
Yeah, it's a fond memory because it's funny because Carl and I have been together for well over a decade now, but my formative years, my first, decade working, I was out there kind of on my own, but I was so young, man. I started working the independents when I was an 18-year-old kid in college. I did Tough Enough, the $1 Million Tough Enough when I was like 20. I got a developmental deal at 21. And then from there, like 22, I'm the fake Kane all of a sudden. 23, I'm Festus. And then that turns into the straight edge society and developing into Gallows. And then I get released before my 27th birthday. And I went overseas. I went to Japan for the first time. I went to Puerto Rico. I went to Mexico. And then I ended up signing a year deal with TNA and went into the Aces and Eights deal. And I got to work with Sting and Hulk Hogan and all those guys. And then from there, it was New Japan Pro Wrestling, and I get there right as the Bullet Club is forming,
Mm.
and then that really did. No matter what people say, that did change the trajectory of our business.
Oh God, yeah.
The fire of the Bullet Club. So all those things are really, really fond memories. And then there's three books here, but then 2015's winding down. Here comes 16. What are we gonna do? We're over here way too much. We have young kids. WWE wants all three of us. Then we go together for the first time. I voted no. I've told that story before. AJ, Carl, and
Mm.
I are in a room. Let's vote. I voted
Yeah.
no. They voted yes. Off we went. So, and the beginning of that run was really fun with the club and working with John Cena and Roman Reigns. And, and that it has ups and downs. And then you go into AEW's forming, our deals are coming up. Did you make the right choice or not? Should we have gone at that point? We ended up staying with WWE, and we've covered how that went. Um, Out of there in 20, back to Impact, back to New Japan, 22, back to WWE. So it's been such a roller coaster. And that's what's fun about what we're doing now because we had so many contracts in a row, which is a fortunate thing in this business. But we had so many bosses and so many people to answer to, and so many people telling us, go here and do this. So it's been a breath of fresh air since our 90 hit in May to
Yeah.
kind of we're our own bosses. We can go where we want to go. We can do what we want to do. We can say what we want to say. And it's building our brand and rebuilding it and taking it, as far as we can. And that's been a lot of fun and it's really cool.
I bet. And I guess, with those formatives, I mean, one of my favorite matches is the match against the Undertaker, Festus the Undertaker. I mean, that's an
Yeah.
incredible match. Do you have,
Yeah.
have you got a lot of fond memories? Like, what's your thoughts about that match in general? Do you have a lot that you remember about it
Yeah.
all?
Yeah, I do because that was like my first huge match. And I was 24 years old and they're like, hey, next week the main event of SmackDown is you versus the Undertaker, and I'm in a happy-go-lucky mid-card babyface tag team, and now I'm gonna wrestle the world champion, the Undertaker, that I watched growing up. So I remember having a lot of nerves before that match, and I remember being really pumped up that I wanted to perform at a high level. And I remember he came into the room where I was kind of warming up, and he goes, "You're too big and too strong to be this tense. Please relax." And I don't know if I did or not, but it was a really fun match and people do
Ah,
remember it. They still ask me about it. So I thought that was cool. And I people always go, you must have been embarrassed to have to be Festus. And I'm like, I really wasn't. I mean, of course you want to have the Ric Flair robe and the long blonde hair, but if you can't be a character, man, it was a lot of fun. It bought me my first house. And it was a good way to ease into being a television wrestler because the character worked. Kids got it like that. You know,
Oh, it
the
was
bell rings,
great.
he
Yeah.
goes crazy. The bell rings again, he shuts back down. You know, is there a ton you can do with it after that? Probably not. There wasn't, but for its little place and time, I think it's cool. And you know, we do the conventions and the signings and stuff, and I always get Festus questions, so at least it's memorable.
I bet when they told you that was going to happen, like bell in, bell out, what was your first thoughts? Because there's always those stories about those mad ideas. But for me, yeah, like you said, the character work. When you fought Undertaker, I remember watching it, and I was just like, yeah, I'm into this because this guy can he lose?
Yeah.
So when you was hearing about this character, did you look at it in a positive light?
Well, yeah, because the way that it started was I was doing this gimmick in Deep South Wrestling developmental. I was doing it before the Fake Kane, then I went up to do Fake Kane, which was basically to promote this Evil movie. And I came back and I was doing this freaking deacon and I would cut these weird promos, but I had a live tarantula, like how Jake had the snake, and I would
Oh,
drop the
right.
tarantula on people and do all this. Well, we in WWE figured out that you couldn't travel with the same tarantula, and you can't tame a new tarantula in every town, and there's issues with PETA, and there's a million reasons why you can't use said tarantula. So I basically come back from doing Imposter Kane, and they're like, "That's not your gimmick anymore. You got to do something else." And I went, "Shit!" Like I'm gonna be fired before this ever takes off. So they had brought, and I love the old school Godwins. I was a fan of them as a kid, and I'm a fan of them now. They're great guys. They brought Henry Godwin down to developmental, down to Deep South Wrestling, and he was going to team with Ray Gordy, and they were going to do like a new version of the Godwins, which would have been a fun little gimmick. How far does it go? Who knows? But Henry had some sort of an issue. I don't know that he got fired or something, a personal issue. He had to leave the company. So now they're like, we're going to do this pig farmer, and he needs a partner. So they were bringing all these big dudes in to replace Henry and doing tryouts with him for like 2 weeks in a row. And I'm sitting there like, I got no character. I'm not being used on the show anymore for the first time. What do I do? So I remember I asked Dr. Tom Pritchard, I go, can I try out to be the pig farmer? And he goes, yeah, we're doing promos tomorrow. So I went and then you could rent DVDs. I went and got what did I get? The redneck comedy tour, the blue collar comedy guys, Larry the
Yeah.
Cable Guy. And I watched
Yeah.
all their shit. And I basically went in and did their shtick. And I had a big chaw in my mouth and we cut 2, 3 promos together. And then they were like, basically, you got the part. You're going to be the partner. We're going to be the Jesse and Justice Dalton. We're going to be pig farmers from Tennessee or whatever we are going to be. So we do a vignette or two, and Teddy Long says, if you guys can get your truck here next week, we'll give you a shot on SmackDown. So here we go. We're going to debut as a tag team on SmackDown. We wear
Right.
overalls. We're pig farmers. Here we go. And we get, and it was like the Baltimore Arena. It's the afternoon, and we got the 2 local guys, the enhancement guys that are going to do the favors. So we're going to beat the shit out of them, hit our pig man finish, and then all of a sudden, like 20 minutes before doors, they come out to the ring and they're like, "Hey, stop what you're doing right now. Vince wants to see you in his office." And we're like, "Fuck, what do we do now? We haven't even done anything yet." So we get called in the office, and he sat us down and explained what Festus was, and that he knew this catatonic character when he was a kid, which I'm sure was bullshit. And the things would trigger him, and he was explaining it to me. And I've told the story a bunch. Like he's doing the face, the Festus face, though, to me, and having me do it back, not like that, like this. God damn it, he's doing the whole deal. And it's surreal because I'm a kid. I've never talked to Vince McMahon in my life, and now we're sticking our tongue out at each other, and he's critiquing me on how to do it.
Yeah.
And then, his famous to me line, he looks over at Gordy and goes, "And you, what's your favorite color?" And Gordy goes, yellow." He goes, "Good, get a yellow singlet, you'll be his handler." And that was how Jesse and Festus started. And then they call me a couple days later and I'm at home and they're like, "You need to go into the school and practice." And I was like, "Oh, okay. Do I need to like work on my headlocks?" They're like, "No, you can't wrestle like a wrestler anymore. You need to wrestle like a whatever word they used." So they they didn't want Festus to look like he knew how to wrestle. So that's where like the big bear paw punching, slapping came from, and
Yeah.
some of the weird offense, the nuts to the face and all that. So yeah, that's how it all started. And it was pretty shocking, but I went, well, This probably has a better chance if he likes it than just being another pig farmer duo because he's already had that. So, I was okay with it.
Yeah. Was his first reaction when you came through the first time as Festus, was it a positive one?
He liked it, but he didn't go like, "I love this." So I remember I was trying to fish around and like, what does he think? And he go, "Oh, he loves Festus." And I go, "Well, like, is there any feedback?" Like, no, just be weird. Okay, great.
Great. And it
That
worked.
fits. I'll do
Yeah.
my best.
Well, it was really, really good, mate. And as you say, the fans talk about it now. Over the years, you've been to fan conventions, you've been to arenas, to shows all around the world. What's a real bizarre fan interaction you've had in your career, wherever it's from? There must be is there any stories where you've had some really bizarre fan interactions?
Yeah, and it's funny because I heard two other wrestlers. I think actually Triple H was one of the first ones, and then there was a TNA guy, I can't remember who had told me this happened to them. And I go, that's so weird. And then it happened to me. I was standing at a urinal taking a piss. And a guy next to me reaches his hand over and goes, "Hey man, you're Luke Gallows. It's great to meet you." And I was like, "Dude, can we not shake hands when we got our cocks in our other hands?" So I think that's probably the weird.
It happens, right? I can imagine it
Yeah,
really
I mean,
does
listen,
happen.
let's just wash our hands and talk outside, brother.
But I guess then, with the wrestling fans are loving everything that we're seeing now, from all different levels of the game. But when you see stuff like TNA and WWE working together, what's your take on that relationship, knowing you were involved when it was TNA and AEW in some ways?
Man, it's just so crazy. My partner and I, Carl and I talk about this all the time because just when you think like that, I can't believe that happened. Just wait 3 months and it changes again. If you look at the last 5, 6, 10 years, it's just ever evolving, ever changing. And is the WWE, controlling every continent a positive? I don't know. I think as long as there's companies that work outside of that realm, yes. Obviously, the fans are enjoying it. They enjoyed Triple Mania. The interaction with Pro Wrestling Noah, if that's going to go any further or not, whatever it is. But I remember Hunter telling Carl and I in like 16 when we were coming in that basically he wanted NXT on every continent. Well, I think TKO came in and with their sharp business skills said, "What if we just own the majority percentage in a good company on each continent, and then we can control it?"
Yeah.
Not a bad business strategy if you study business at all. Probably a lot cheaper, and then you can cherry pick all the top stars and do with them as you please, and then let the rest of it run the way that it runs.
Yeah, I mean it's crazy, isn't it? Because it is starting to come like that, and it's a great time. I'm a massive wrestling fan. Whatever
Yeah.
we can see, I love seeing it, and it's in a really healthy place. With what you're doing now with your own stuff as well, alongside like this tour that you're doing in just a weekend. What are your ambitions? One as a promoter, and then two as a wrestler. Still, do you want to
Yeah,
be back in somewhere like AEW or WWE?
I
Is that
think
something?
I think for us, like the high is still performing, and I think that and you hear a lot of people say this, so I don't want to sound too cliche, but it's all about moments now. We've been involved in some huge, huge moments. You want to be out there in these big matches, but you really want these huge moments, whether it be in Japan or it be on American television or on a big pay-per-view, or is the moment when our show gets the next streaming deal. Whatever happens next, it's all pushing forward, and we have the only ambition we don't have is slowing down. We're just as motivated as we ever were, and I think that it's a new audience, a younger audience that when we were kind of benched in WWE, they might not be all the way familiar with us. So I think it's fun to get back out there and kind of reintroduce ourselves. And then you take a step back and you look, the lines are kind of drawn in the sand with these big companies, right? Like you look at it and you got like WWE, you got AAA, you got Pro Wrestling Noah, you got TNA over here. Then on the other side, you've got like AEW, CMLL, Maple Leaf Pro to some degree. And it's kind of like you can kind of see where it's all headed. So that's why I just keep saying, if you think something's crazy or you don't like it, just wait 3, 4, 5, 6 months because it's going to change again. So that's the beauty of it right now. And it's a great time. I said this 5 years ago, but it's more true now. Like, what an awesome, amazing time to be a wrestling fan.
Oh, best.
It's a fantasy world, man. You can watch fantasy matches that you never thought you would see. Like I can't imagine, 15-year-old me seeing all this cross promotion, seeing
Yeah.
WCW guys on, you know what I mean, jumping across, but it's allowed, and then they're working together, and then here and there. Like I remember being excited when New Japan guys would pop up on WCW because I'm like, oh, okay, I read about this guy in a magazine. Now I get to see him. But now with the internet and all the cross promotion, you can see everybody everywhere. It's incredible.
It is, and I guess we have things we touched on Unreal and stuff like that, and stuff like there was some criticism around WrestleMania because they seemed like they were telling a story with Cena turning heel and The Rock, and then it didn't materialize, and then there was a rapper involved in the finish of the biggest
Right.
title match of the year. When you've been to these places, wherever you've been around the world, do you like does creative just sort of can it abruptly stop like that and just all of a sudden, you don't know what's going on and there's no
Yeah.
real, yeah. Why
Yeah.
do you think
Yeah.
that happens?
I think that one whisper can make any individual or any act or any group fall out of favor because if one person says it and it gets heard too many times, then it's like that. And you go from being the guy who's, they're blowing your phone up all day, every day. We're doing this, this, and this. You're going here, you're doing this, you're doing this to wait, I'm not booked at TV next week. I'm not going to TV.
Mm,
What the hell? And it's happened to us countless times and friends of ours and colleagues and all the way to people we don't like. But it's just a factor of the business, and I think that my son really wants to be a pro wrestler, and I'm making him go to college
right.
as he works through this. But he always asks like, "What do you think you could have learned and done better at?" And I said, "Well, I was never into the political part of pro wrestling, but I think that you have to be."
Mm,
And especially now as it matures and it grows and it's so big and there's so many different places to go that you have to learn to kind of be in there with the right people. Like we got very comfortable in Japan doing what we were told. Gato says tonight you lose in 10 minutes to their finish. Great. What's their finish? See you out there. Tomorrow night we win. Great. We win the titles of the pay-per-view. Awesome. Okay. Sometimes when you get in these American TV companies, it doesn't work like that. And there's a lot of office people and there are a lot of performers that have certain people's ears. And I'm not saying it's a negative thing. It's just something that you have to learn to navigate if you're going to be all the way successful at the highest level for a long time in this business, or you're going to ride the roller coaster,
Of
basically.
course, of course, because something like, let's say, the John Cena heel turn, it looked like it was monumental. It's already turned around within 4 months. What's your take on that? Do you think that's a lot of parties getting involved? Do you think it was something that they just didn't underestimate? They underestimated?
I wish that I could tell you that I watched the whole thing, but
Mm,
I basically heard it through my son's voice because we've been so busy. I haven't been watching a lot of WWE stuff at all.
mm.
But his take on it was, Dad, they screwed it up and they were forced to turn him back. And I don't always believe that. I mean, there are probably a million factors, and maybe John's a genius too, and he deserves the credit for being a genius. Maybe that was his idea all the way along, that it's not going to be a full heel turn and you don't finish that way. And I mean, he'll obviously put somebody over on the way out, or he should, unless he turns fucking heel again. Like I said, if you think it's just going to change. So
Yeah,
yeah,
you
that
know.
part of it's fun to look at.
Yeah, but like Luke, thank you so much, man. You're fantastic to talk to. It's great to hear about your career and what's going on next. So again, just for our fan base, just tell one more time about what you're doing with the promotion
Yeah.
and where we can catch you.
Yeah, so follow my socials, the underscore big LG on X and Instagram. I'm not very good on TikTok. I'm trying. But follow that to see us live. The Good Brothers are everywhere. Carl is at Machine Gun KA on Instagram and X. But most importantly, please tune in to Triller TV in front of the paywall every other Thursday is a new episode of our Talking Shop podcast with guests, wrestling commentary, and all kinds of other bullshit. And then that leads into Saturday. Talking Shop presents Lariato Pro Wrestling. It is produced by Carl Anderson and myself. Live pro wrestling and a whole lot more. You can also see it on Roku. The channel to download is STGN49 as well as Apple TV. And that is a bi weekly show, Thursdays and Saturdays on there as well. So please check that out. If you love it, let us know. If you hate it, let us know. We got thick skin. We can take it.
Luke, it's been an absolute pleasure. I hope everything is smashing for you for the rest of the year and beyond. You're a legend and hope to see you again soon. And I'll be watching Lariato and the podcast. So take care of yourself, man.
Brother, I appreciate you having me
Yeah,
on. Thanks,
yeah.
everybody.
See you. Bye bye.